Hello everyone, it's Crystal Ether here. Today, I'll be covering the miracle trio of Helios who have received new cards in reference to the Lost Zero event. Brad, Dino, and Keith are an unstoppable force when they team up, but this wasn't always the case. If you're still on the fence on whether to get these cards or not, let's see how each of their skills evolved during this period of history. Before we begin, I just want to make a note that if you really like the card, then go for it. This is a single player game, so you should enjoy your roster how you like. This former member of the Anti-Eclipse squad has clearly been through quite an ordeal to get where he is today, though this hasn't impacted his teamwork with his friends. His time as Zero exploits the bleed debuff to perform at his best, inflicting the debuff onto all enemies while boosting his own damage when targeting bleeding foes. Just ignore the bleed debuff on other allies, as it's just a flesh wound and doesn't actually hurt that much. Topping off his skill set is a simple damage skill with nothing much to write home about. Brad and Keith are practically stapled to this card, so that Dino can take advantage of his first skill, but he'll greatly appreciate any buffs to other core damage stats to elevate his DPS ceiling. The card won't have an answer to any bosses that resist or can cleanse debuffs, but is otherwise quite capable for new players. The skill's secondary effects apply even if you aren't using these specific event cards. I would recommend Dino's Cheerleader frame as it provides a strong critical rate and critical damage flat buff to all allies at the cost of 20% of his HP, and this can be easily worked around while boosting this card's DPS with some much needed stats. His Chapter 12 frame works if you're on a budget, as granting 3 special attack orbs to himself and an ally works in almost any situation. Alternatively, his Chapter 5 frame is an option to provide a massive critical damage buff without the HP cost, but you will need to find a way to boost your team's critical rate or sacrifice 3 special attack orbs to achieve a reliable critical rate buff. Both are party-wide buffs, but are powerful enough to work well on a DPS like this Dino card. I have only one more thing to say about this card. Separate Dino from Brad and Keith, and you'll regret it. The Mentor Leader hasn't always been the shining paragon he is today, but this version shows him at his best when paired with Dino and Keith. Brad can provide a plethora of offensive buffs to the team so long as his friends are available, and his short cooldowns on both skills help to compensate for their low modifiers. However, the initial cooldown for both skills strongly encourages multiple limit breaks to get the most out of the run. This version of Brad essentially has the same skill set as his initial version, if Keith or Dino aren't present in the party, so it's in the player's best interest to keep the miracle trio together. This is a hefty condition, but one that can be well worth it if you don't have many strong passion cards. Treat this Brad as a supporter, and equip him with frames to help his teammates shine. Despite his powerful burst skill modifier, this card lacks a way to consistently generate his BP gauge to avoid taking attacks from the main DPS. His first birthday frame remains a solid choice, providing healing and attack orb regeneration for all allies on the team with a decent cooldown. His winter sports frame is also another option to provide support to all allies with BP regeneration and a stackable attack up buff. However, if you absolutely want this Brad card as your main DPS, then consider his 4th birthday frame, as it buffs his burst damage and critical damage via stacking buffs, both with level 2 modifiers. You can also consider his Gotcha Gentleman frame, as you're likely pairing this card with the Lost Zero version of Dino. The bleed debuff he'll incur from the latter's first skill will be addressed by this frame's healing effect, as well as buffing Brad's attack. Rounding off the miracle trio is Keith, who returns to his status as the free-to-play Patsy with another free card for players participating in this Link event. If you still haven't gotten a copy of this card up until this point, it's no great loss, and there's always reruns. Both of his skills inflict damage while also debuffing an enemy, which is usable but not very strong considering low modifiers. Brad and Dino are practically mandatory for Keith to shine, which reflects this hero's temperament during his period of life. In short, a usable welfare unit that can be easily replaced. However, players planning to use this version of Keith should place him in a support role, as his damage is lacking and Keith himself has some support-oriented 3-star frames. His Valentine Welfare frame is an excellent option for new players who lack cards that can maximize their critical hit rates, and can significantly increase a hero's damage output by enabling those precious critical hits to the team. If critical rate isn't a problem, then his wedding frame provides a useful stackable buff to the critical damage stat, but keep in mind that it's only a level 1 modifier. If either option isn't available, then his casino event frame from the memorial section provides both critical rate and critical damage as flat buffs. However, the critical rate buff is half of the Valentine's frame, and this frame's passive doesn't apply to the Miracle Trio set as it only works on brave allies. This set focuses on the story themes over functionality, which is fine given the excellent showing from Valentine's East earlier this month. It's cute how they all perform at their best when grouped together, but I strongly recommend free-to-plays to skip this set if possible. The return on investment with this Miracle Trio set is low compared to the other event sets. That's all for this analysis. If you enjoyed the content, please consider subscribing to the channel. Otherwise, I'll see you all in the next video.